Good evening and welcome to this month's Ask Me Anything session. Tonight's session is all about lenses. So we want you to get your questions in. We'll have a quick look at some questions in a minute. But first, we have some amazing technical experts with us. And the first person I would like to introduce you to is our wonderful, hailing from the UK, Dax. Hey, Dax, how you
Hey,
doing?
Claire, how's it going?
I'm good. How you doing? Back from holiday?
This is okay. So it's my first day back, and as I just told you, I'm not feeling really very well. So let's try and not get the questions wrong. I'm going to do my best tonight. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's good to be here.
You'll be fine. You've done this before. Thanks for joining us tonight, David. Okay, we have also the gorgeous PJ hailing from Poland. Hey, PJ, how are you doing?
Hey everybody.
Hey,
Hey,
PJ.
Claire. Hey David. I am second day after holiday, and I'm also not feel good today because I have many questions from customers on my email boxes, and I need to clean this mess. But I will I will share with you some of my knowledge and experience if you have any questions.
Wonderful. Now, tonight, guys, we have a very special treat for you. We would like to introduce our viewers to one of our newest team. It's not newest team, but I'll tell you a bit more about that. But I'd like to introduce you to the gorgeous Fanny. She hails from Germany. Hey, Fanny.
Hi, Claire.
Hey. So wonderful of you to join us.
Yes, I'm really happy. It's my first time here at Ask Me Anything, so I'm curious what happens.
Yes, of course. We will look after you, and we've got some amazing viewers. So I want everybody out there to say hello to Fanny. Fanny hails from Germany. She speaks Spanish, Italian, and English. Have I missed one?
French.
French. Don't forget French, of course.
Wow.
And Fanny, tell our viewers how long you've been working with Olympus/OM System.
Since 2000.
So that's 24 years.
Yes, for presentations and workshops, and yes.
So David, that's mine and your time put together, plus another 3.
Yeah, that's about that. Yeah. So no, it literally is that. I mean, pretty much. Wow, that's a long time.
A long time. So yeah. So Fanny is pairing up with Niels. If you are a German speaker, or if you can speak German, basically there's going to be lots more lives in that language to support the German market. So you'll be seeing Fanny a lot more. But because she speaks Spanish and English and French, she'll probably be joining some of our other TEs on their local language channels as well. So we're going to throw you in at the deep end, Fanny. You just enjoy yourself, have some fun with us, and our viewers are amazing, so I'm sure you'll be fine. So tonight is all about lenses. Now, whilst we've got questions coming in, so guys, if you're out there watching, any questions about lenses, put them in the chat. If there are questions that are not about lenses, we can always go back to them if we have time. If we don't have time, then one of us will go in afterwards and we'll answer the questions as we can in the next sort of couple of days. So I'll ask Fanny first because she's our first guest, our sort of newest tech. Fanny, what's your favourite lens out of all the lenses OM System and Olympus made? What's your favourite lens? Right.
I really love the 45 1.2. This is really a lens
right.
I
your
love,
portrait work and your wedding work and stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But if I have to be more flexible, I really yes, that's it. Yeah.
This one I prepared earlier.
And yes.
I love it.
I really love it. And I also it's so funny because you have please stop, I have to go away and come closer. So it's a sports lens also. You can do a lot with this lens. I really love it. But I also use the 40-150 because so I'm more flexible at, I don't know, weddings and something like this. But the 45 is I love the bouquet. Yes, I love the bouquet.
Good. Good to know. And it's nice to know that a 45 1.2. When you said 4, I thought you were going to go straight in for the 40 to 150 straight away. David, what about you? What's your favourite lens in your arsenal? Because we are lucky that we get all to play with all the lenses. What's your favourite?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be any surprise that my absolute favorite is the 90mm macro. I mean, that's, you know, it's the world's worst kept secret for me. I was dying for that lens to come out for years. But, however, I will definitely share with Fanny expressing how much she loves the 45 1.2. I don't know if you remember when we were going through like the initial COVID kind of lockdown time. We were doing a lot with portrait lenses, and it's and I started with the 45 1.8 before the 1.2 came out, and it's the lens that helped me document the girls growing up, you know, taking their portraits, and just moving on to the 1.2 was a huge thing. The bouquets just that compression blows you out of the water. And it was one of the first lenses I think that we did that created that feathery bokeh. You know, where the edges were just kind of like, it wasn't like that. It was kind of like this. And yeah, really, really nice. So I think ultimately the 90, but second, the 45 1.2 for sure. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Right, PJ, over to you. What's your favourite lens?
9mm f8 fisheye lens cap lens.
Oh, that's a throwing it out there. 8mm fish.
Of course, I won't only see your reaction. To be honest, I don't remember when I used this small lens, but it's very good. My favorite lens, daily favorite lens, is 20mm 1.4, and I think I'm taking 85 to 90% of my daily and home pictures of on this lens. But if I need to choose one for everything, is 12 to 100. Because this is most.
They already knew this, though. I mean, I think everyone was shouting at the screen saying, "PJ's 12 to 100 is the one, right?"
But a lot of time I was sport photographer, and in that time, 40 to 150 2.8 was my favorite lens, and I think I have the biggest number of pictures with 5 stars in my Lightroom from this lens, 40 to 150 2.8.
Nice.
Do you think as well that we actually, I'm just sort of thinking about it, I think particularly because we do get to use all of the lenses within the team, my favorites are quite seasonal as well. You know, when we start to do things in the winter and it's darker early in the evenings and we switch to kind of, you know, brighter lenses, and I think I find myself doing a lot of light painting with the 12 to 40, believe it or not, you know, because nice, it just kind of goes to it. And it's a classic as well.
Yeah. I mean, it is one of those lenses, the 1240. We call it a kit lens, and it's so much more than a kit lens, right? It's, you know, people say when you buy it in a kit, which there are always deals on, you know, you save like £300 or £400, euros, dollars, whatever, but it's so much more than a kit lens. So you're absolutely right. It's sort of, I think it gets pushed aside because we use the long lenses and we're always talking about the sort of 150, 400, but it is an absolute staple. Right, less about us. Let's get on with some questions. I forgot to tell you guys that we have the lovely Mike Amico who is in the questions. Hello, Mike. Normally joins us, but he's not in the thing today. But he's there, so say hello to Mike. He's in the chat. So let's start with some questions. Let's crack on. We have a lovely question from Mike Baines. Mike says, I'd like suggestions for the use of the L function button on pro lenses for wildlife, especially given it's not easy to access the live FN button on the 150-400 while shooting. Any best practice ideas? That's a really good question. I mean, I have focus limiter on mine. If I'm in that place where I know I'm going to be, there's a certain amount of distance that I want to shoot at. The weekend I went out and did the seals, and they were at a specific distance. So that was the focus limiter. What about you, David? What's your favorite go-to for programming that button?
Yeah, believe it or not, I tend to go for the depth of field preview, and I usually have it on the lock mode as well. So I press the button once and it stays locked in. And again, that's usually because I'll be doing something close up, and it's really important to know the depth of field at that distance. Right. It's interesting though. I think if we're talking about the 150 to 400 particularly, and Mike finding it perhaps not easy to get to the button, it's worth remembering that there are 4 of those buttons all the way. Sorry, 3 buttons. Yeah,
4.
All the way.
4. Yeah, 4.
We got 4 all the way around there, and a lot of people question, what do all these buttons do? Well, we kind of know they all do the same thing, the one function that we program, but it's at any angle that you're holding the lens and camera. So it should be fairly easy to use it. But for me, it would always be depth of field preview because it suits my style of shooting. Yeah.
What about you, PJ? Any tips in that for the button on the lens?
It depends of the lens, because for 400 to 150 or 300, I have autofocus limiter. I am in sport photography situation. I'm the C4 to very fast enter to custom mode where I have a program for panning with very low high speed to high aperture. This is only for panning, but in this lens specific, I mostly use this button not as function button, but as preset button. You can remember here distance to some objects and back to the distance by this button if we change here from elephant to preset. This is my mostly, I'm using these buttons mostly for that, because if I am in hidings, I have specific one scenes where birds returning very often, and I can very fast back to this distance from other plan or situation.
Cool. Love it. Right, Fanny, what about you?
AF stop, also the limiter. When I use this lens, I just use it for the AF stop.
Yeah. I know for wildlife, because this is what Mike has sort of specifically asked for. I know for sure that Tesney, a lot of our ambassadors would use it for focus limiter. So hope that helps, Mike. Practice, but like David says, 4 buttons, you should have a bit more accessibility without doing that. Okay, I'm gonna put this question up because it is a lens question. Interestingly, can anyone compare the sharpness of the 40 150 2.8 Pro to the 12-200 3.5 and the 12-100 Pro? Well, I mean, they are completely different lenses and in a completely different stable nap. The 40 150 2.8 Pro and the 12-100 Pro. Well, the 12-100 Pro has image sync, which means it has an extra lens in there which matches the movement of the sensor. So it is going to be super, super sharp and super, super awesome with the image stabilization. The 40 to 150 Pro, I always think is like super, super sharp because it's 2.8 and focuses really quickly. It has internal zooming. So there's a lot less glass for it to travel through. And the 12-100 is always going to be the lesser sharp one because of its range, right? PJ, talk us through the range on a 12-200. It's pretty big, right? It's a long way.
12 to 200 is lens what we can use when only in situation when we have very light baggage, only 8 kilos for fly, and we can then take only one lens for everything. And in this situation, this will be a good choice. But in other situation, if you can choose 12 to 100 or for 2 lenses like 12 to 40 and 40 to 150, even this is small version for f4, it will be better than one very, very long universal lens. Of course, for some customers, 40 to 150 or 12 to 200 will be great lens and very universal lens. I know our ambassador, Marcin Dobas, National Geographic photographer, he has a lot of pictures from 14 to 150 lens, because always he took this lens for climbing, for Via Ferrata mountain ways, and this is only one lens what he have with him. But
Yeah.
this is very specific situation. If you
Yeah.
can choose between these lenses, 40 to 150 will be the best, 12 to 100 will be second one, and 12 to 200 is universal and last my choice if we look only for sharpness.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and the point is, it's when he says compare, is really don't compare those lenses. I mean, and that's the point, they are in completely different sort of situations for different lenses. So Nat, we hope that helps. I'm going to put this comment up quickly. Wow, love the hair, Claire. Thanks, Susie. Yes, it's all gone. The hair has gone. Finally.
I love that this was the first thing that Susie noticed tonight. And as we know, Susie, she's gone straight for the do, which is amazing, Claire. By the way, it does really, like I said, it really suits you.
Thank you very much, and honestly, it feels great. But thanks, Susie. Love you, girl. See you soon, no doubt. Okay, I'm going to throw this one to you, David. You are our macro technical experts. There's nothing about macro you don't know. Deborah would love to know how you get the 60mm into 1:1.
Okay, this is something that comes up a lot.
I'm going to put you on the big screen. Hang on a minute. I forgot how to do that again. There we go. How do we put you on the big screen? You're on your own. That one. There you go.
Hey. Okay, so 60mm macro lens. Obviously, this is the one that I was in my bag 90% of the time until the 90mm came out. Now, on that lens, you have this focus limiter here at the side, if I do it that way. And you'll notice that on there, it does have these distance markers, which will limit the lens to the said differences. And now a lot of people think that you need to turn the switch to the 1:1 position and hold it there because it is sprung loaded. So it will bounce back once you do that. But when this lens is mounted on a camera, what you will see here is in this little indicator window, once you've twisted that little dial to the 1:1 and let go, the marker in the indicator window will be at 1:1. Now, the really important thing about keeping it at 1:1 is that you don't use autofocus. And the reason for this is people shout all the time and say, well, what's the point of having autofocus if you can't use it? And well, the problem is physics. And that's kind of the bit that gets in the way. In order to reproduce an image at exactly 1:1 or 2:1, if we're using the 90mm macro, on a specific focal length, we have to be at a very specific distance. Now, on this 60mm macro lens, that's just short of 9 centimeters, about 8.7 centimeters, I think. And at that distance from the front element to your subject, when in the 1:1 ratio point on the lens, you will create a 1:1 reproduction image. Now, if you're using autofocus and if you're too close, then the lens will just hunt because it can't physically focus any closer than that. And if you're further away than sort of 8.7 centimeters, then the lens will actually focus on what you've pointed it at, but it will draw that marker in the little window here. It'll draw that down to the actual reproduction that it's managed to get. And that's there we go. And that's the camera and the lens working together to get you in focus, but outside of that range, it won't be at 1:1. So to wrap that up, put your camera into manual focus, then switch your lens to 1:1, and then move towards a subject until you hit that correct distance. And that's going to get you 1:1.
Wonderful. I love that. Amazing. Thank you. That's why I put you on the big screen. That was your solo drum. That was your solo.
Can I go home now? Am I done? Like I said,
absolutely not.
I'll stay.
But what we are jumping straight into is this very interesting question from Sarah. Sarah says, I've been using the 60mm macro and I've always felt it's not very friendly, right? And a friendly user. And that's exactly what David was talking about. It is actually quite a complicated lens as in its makeup. But once you learn how to use it,
photography is not friendly.
Now
It's,
I won't hear a bad word said.
Macro photography is not friendly. It's only for crazy people who can wake up at 4 and go to the forest and find some spiders.
Are you saying that do we have to be manufactured slightly different to enjoy it? Because maybe I don't know. But no, Sarah is right. It's not absolutely user friendly, particularly if you've not done macro before. It is really important to get to know a little bit of the physics around it, like 1-to-1 and things like that. However, in her question, she asks if the 90mm is more user friendly, and to be honest with you, it actually is. Even though it's a much more powerful lens, using it is much more intuitive, I would say.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's a question further down which says, can you compare the 3 macro lenses? And we're going to do that now. So we have the 30mm f3.5, which is what I call the run and gun 35, right? It's basically the 30mm. It's, you basically put it on the camera. You don't have to know too much about magnifications or focus limit or any of that. You put it on. You compress your autofocus, you can get up to a millimeter away. The one thing you are always going to not struggle with, but the downside of being so close to your center, to your subject, is there's no light passing between the lens and your subject, right? So it is a fabulous, I mean, that is tiny. So it's great when you're outdoors, you want to do sort of ladybirds and grass and the general stuff, if you can get right on top. But if you need a little bit of distance between your subject and your camera, then the 60mm would be the next favorite, wouldn't it? And the 60mm has been around since the EM5 was first launched. It was one of our very, very, very first lenses. It's tiny. It retails at about $500, pounds, euros, whatever the currency, and is an absolute staple if you can't stretch to the 90. But let's talk about the 90. Let's talk about the 90. The 90 is a combination of the physics and the physics and the beauty of the 60, but actually the ease of use of the 30. So you're getting both of those things in the 90, and it is awesome. Fanny, have you used the 90? Have you had an opportunity to play with the 90 at all? Because you're used to doing portraits and weddings, and you had to go with the 90?
I had it for one day, but the 60mm for portrait is also a lens I really love.
Nice.
It's so nice. Yeah.
And
I think PJ probably would send you his 90. He doesn't like us macros anyway, so he will send you the 90.
And never underestimate the 30mm, because I really think it's so nice, and it's small. You can put it just in the pocket.
Yeah.
And you can go really, really close. So it's nice. Maybe to start macro, it's nice because it's fast in putting in focus. So I really like it.
Cool.
When I just want to take a little camera just to look more like a tourist than like a professional. If I want just to take photos without someone telling, "Whoa, what do you have? It's so big." Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So I take the 30mm, and it's great.
I think you're very right about the 60 for portraits as well. It's something that we don't talk about, and I think for you probably have a lot more experience using it in that area. And what's really interesting with the 60, particularly if you're working with lights and compressed lights, like, you know, sort of the bokeh in the background, the 60 creates a really kind of hexagonal bokeh. It's not a circular bokeh. So it's a very interesting photo. Would you agree, Fanny?
Yes. And there is another macro lens I really love, and I use it every day in my studio. I do portraits and events and something like this, but for the portraits in the studio, I use an old lens, the first macro lens, the 50mm 2.0 4/3, and that's so great. No, it's not big.
Yeah, but it's not that big.
It's a great lens.
No. The 150 was the big one. The 50, it's so sharp, and yes, I really use it every day, but you need time because the focus
takes a bit longer.
It was in the beginning of the fast autofocus. But it's a great lens.
Right,
You
wonderful.
still
Sarah,
can use
your
it.
last question. Sarah's last question is: plus, is it safe to buy a refurbished lens? It absolutely is. If you're buying them from our own store, we have a section now for refurb, and they are all perfectly wonderful, and you get a warranty with them anyway. So you shouldn't ever worry about that. So
but
wherever
for
you're
90
buying it from,
millimeter,
make sure you get a warranty.
but for
PJ?
90 millimeter is hunting. If 90 millimeter is in refurbished, it's disappeared in 2 minutes, I think. Always.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We saw the similar thing though with the 150 to 400. Whilst we were in, really sort of tight stock levels, we would see one that would re-enter the market and it would disappear in like a puff of smoke seconds later. Just snapped back up by somebody.
Okay, I'm going to crack on with the next question. Hope that helps, Sarah. The next question is from Sri. This is a really interesting question because it's going to open a real can of worms, as in trying to decide the best OMSYSTEM lens for deep sky astrophotography. My current setup includes the 4150 f5, so I'm assuming that's the f4, and a 12 to 42.8 Pro. I have used the 8mm 1.8, the fisheye, right? It's beautiful because it's super, super bright. I also like the 17mm f1.2 because that is super, super bright. It's just not quite wide enough. So it depending on what you're doing, the 17 may be enough. PJ, you've had some astro experience.
I have, not very, very, very small experience, but I have. Of course, 714 for landscape night photography. If we talk about deep sky astrophotography, there is two recommendations, not for me, but for our ambassador, Mariusz Fronia. It's astrophotographer. And he uses 300 millimeter time to time. And if I can recommend very rare and not our lens but manual lens, he also recommend to find a very old Samyang 145 for micro four thirds 1.8 manual focus lens for deep astrophotography, because this is very light lens. You can use it for very small tracker, and for astrophotography you don't need autofocus. For deep sky astrophotography, of course. The biggest problem with this lens is this is not water sealed lens, and if you have very wet condition, you can't use this setup because you will have water also inside your body, because whole water from lens will go to the body. And this is a recommendation from Mariusz. I think 40 to 150, but 2.8 will be also very good choice for deep sky astrophotography. If you have a very big tracker, you can also try to find old lens for our system, but DSLR lens, 150, yes, 2.0, or 55 to 100 2.0. These two lenses was very bright and very good in optical condition. This is two sharpest lens in whole 4-third old system, but you need a very big tracker because this is two very heavy lenses, and you need to have special reduction MMF3. What is very rare also on eBay. We don't have this reduction on our stock from, I think, 2 years.
I think they're long gone. You've got to find them used, I think, somewhere. Great stuff. Sri, we hope that helps you. Another question from Mogan. Mogan is very into the chat tonight. When will there be a 25 100 f4 to complement the 825, 25 100, 100? The answer is we don't know. Periodically, OMSYSTEM will release a lens roadmap. They do that. We do that. I should say we do that periodically. I have no clue when that's due. So apologies that I can't answer it any better, but that is a fact. Sorry, Mogans.
But to be honest, we have 40 to 150 f4
There
for
you go.
this very light and small
Exactly.
setup with 825. This gap between 25 and 40 is not very important in my opinion. You can use 8 to 25 and 40 to 150. This is very light setup with f4.
Wonderful. Right. Okay. I've got the lovely Trevor. Hello, Trevor. How are you doing? Hope the South Coast is looking after you. Trevor says, does the LN function setting stick for every lens connected? Now, the answer is no, I believe. Or is it yes, I believe?
It's yes. So, well, it depends though, doesn't it, PJ? It depends how you've got your custom modes set
Right.
up. So, yeah.
Well, of course.
It can vary depending on the custom setup. Yeah.
I have whole setups for every situation on my phone, and I can change custom setups in I think 1 minute. And I have customs for every spot situation: wildlife photography, sport photography, portrait photography, and I changing these setups in this moment what I need. But I don't think so. We can stick for every different lens in one custom mode. Camera don't recognize lens what.
Yeah,
we have
and I think your workaround is absolutely right. So on the phone, on your OI Share app, guys, if you didn't already know, you can save many camera settings. And when you save those settings, you can rename them and call them whatever you want to call them. You could call them lens function, manual focus, you could call them lens functions, and you can basically bring these settings in. And you know, a lot of people, if they're only doing wildlife or birds in flight, the cameras never change settings, right? They are in that mode. But if you're someone who I know, like Trevor, does a little bit of everything, then you want to be able to have that flexibility. So swapping them around, using custom functions on the phone to bring back those settings is a really good idea. So good on you guys. Right, okay, we're going to fly through some...
Claire,
yes, fire away.
Yes, Trevor, you also mentioned the 75 1.8 in the beginning of the chat. That's also a lens I really love. I used it before. I had the 40-150 and it was great. It's so great. And it really, if you see mine, it was black, but now it's silver. And black because
this one yours, Fanny? The silver?
Yes, it was black.
It was black. This one was never black though. This one was always silver. But I know exactly what you mean. I have a few lenses down here that are getting that way.
Yeah, so my 75 is also marked. But what I love about the 75 1.8 is it reminds me of film. It has that feeling of film rather than sort of digital. There's just that old school lovely feel about the images it creates. I know a lot of people love their 75s, and really
this can be also a good lens for astrophotography.
Yes, very true, very true.
And
because it's light, right?
Yeah, I think we can sometimes get too hung up on going wide, and we think, you know, for the deep space stuff, like PJ talked about the 300 f4. You know, that creates such exceptional deep space images. So,
absolutely. You're absolutely right. Yeah, because like we said, we always talk. I always sort of think sky wide, but like you say, deep sky, you got to go zoom in. You got to get nearer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to jump into Ben's question. Ben says, what two lenses, or one, if there is one, would you take traveling to cover wildlife, landscape, and some astro? Is that the 12-100 I see there before mine? To be fair,
I love that he's consistent at least. So, you know.
I made a workshop this summer with a group of 5 people, and I said, today we go, I think we went to a city, and I said, you just have to choose 2 of your lenses. And they said, oh, that's so difficult. Yes, but now choose. And it was really funny because, some took a fixed fixed lens and others a zoom, but really just two, not three, no, just two. And it's
But
good.
I do think PJ's right. The 12100 really could cover wildlife. I mean, it might be a bit short. It's 200 mil, so it is classed as wildlife. It would definitely take landscape at 12 mil, and you've got astro as well. So you're absolutely right. PJ wins the lottery, and PJ wins.
But this is configuration with one lens. We can also take
One lens,
two
one
lenses, but there is two lenses. With two lenses, you can take 714 for landscape and for astrophotography. This will be the best choice. If you have OM1 second with ND filter, GND filter, you don't need for landscape photography any physical filter. You have everything in the body, and you can take 40 to 150 2.0 with teleconverter MC20, but without lens hood, without this tripod mount. It also will be light setup for motorbike. I think with two lenses you will cover everything from very wide angle to very long lens for wildlife.
Good stuff. Thanks, guys. Right, I've only got 20 minutes left, so I'm going to just power on through some questions. There's not a question, but more, can we talk about it? So yes, let's talk about the 1245 again. Another one of our latest lenses in the lineup from OM System. It's there to complement the 825, the f4, and the 40 to 150. So basically you've got three lenses in that range, or f4 range, that allow you to have everything from wide to super travel. The 1245 is lovely on the OM5 if you want to carry small and light, but super bright. The one things that the f4 lenses don't have is they don't have a manual focus lens clutch, and they don't have a lens function button. But obviously they are a fair bit cheaper than the 2.8 version. So the idea is to create something that everybody can afford or everybody can sort of get into, and that's why there's a duplication in those sort of focal lengths. And it's there to keep the size and weight down, but also to keep the cost down. So it basically sort of fits every pocket. But I love the 1245 f4. Easy to use, small, light, and super bright. Anybody else use the 1245 f4 regularly?
I used to use it quite a lot, but mine got half-inched at an event that we did. Mine went walkies because it's so, obviously they wanted that lens because it's a good one. But previous to that, I mean, it's about, where's the so I would say, with the 20 mil, it's not much bigger than the 20 mil, is it really? And that's
it's about similar actually, because when I'm looking for it in my bag, they're the two I always. Oh no, wrong one.
Yeah. Where's my 20?
They have the same lens hood.
The same hood as well, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not much bigger than the 20. And I think when we first released it, the marketing around it was, size of an apple. It's like having an apple in your pocket, really, isn't it? That was lighter than an apple. And that's one of the main reasons for people using it, because it's so small and light,
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
pro sharpness, that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
And then if you want to jump quickly into the manual focus, you can set the camera an SAF plus MF, and you have both, and you don't have to use the clutch. So you can always fix the focus with the AF, and then you turn a little bit and you have both. So I really use it a lot, and so you don't have to think, do I have the clutch now or not? And so you're
It's
also
a really
with the
good point.
1245.
Yeah, Fanny, it's a really good point, because sometimes people wonder, why do you have SAF and MF in the manual as well? And we've had that in the camera for so long, and then producing a lens that complements that feature is a great thing, right? So people think, it's not got the clutch, but there's, like you say, there's a menu option for that already built into the camera. So you're certainly not having a slower process. It's there, and just needs to have that workaround, which is pretty cool. Okay, this is an interesting question from Michael. Michael says, does using Lens Sync IS have a noticeable impact on battery life? I mean, I would say no. I mean, It's going to have, it's obviously
not
going to have a tiny
noticeable.
bit of difference, but it's only using a little. So my feeling would be minute that you wouldn't notice it. What do you think, David?
Yeah, no, I think so unnoticeable. You'd have to be in laboratory conditions to mark it.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I think the only one that you might notice some difference in is the 150 to 600. If you were using continually focusing at all the different ranges and the whole lot was going, but again, 2% difference, if
Yeah.
that. I don't really think it has that impact because, you know, a lot of the IS is active all the time anyway. You know, it works on that magnetic voice coil motor principle, doesn't it? So no, the batteries are well designed to handle that now without any noticeable difference, I think.
I absolutely agree, and you're absolutely right. And then going back to the 150-600 again, if you're using focus limiter, you can cut the area where it's focusing down. So again, that cuts down battery life. So there are ways to sort of improve that battery life as much as possible, isn't it? But yeah, I can honestly say with the 12100 for sure, I wouldn't even notice it. No. Cool.
From my experience, I say that on, I think, last AMA, but I will remember say that one more time. A few weeks ago, I was on Hungaroring on Formula One Grand Prix with two lenses, 112 to 100, of course, and 300. Both with Sync IS, and I did on OM 1 second 6,874 pictures on one battery with also 8% batteries remaining. And this is impact on the battery with two lenses with Sync IS without impact.
Nothing to worry about, I don't think.
Yeah.
That's a nice amount.
7,000 pictures on one battery, and this 99% of this picture was on long exposure time, like for sports photography, of course, long exposure time, like one of 125 or 1 to 60, because I'm only did panning on this Hungarian. This is going to be 7,000 pictures.
Wonderful.
If somebody want, I can send a picture of my screen with data about batteries.
I thought you were about to offer to send all 7,000 images then. And I mean, I would take them just to see what you got up to as well.
I did in on 3 days, I did 28,000 pictures.
Wow. Now I feel like
normal sport photography.
Okay, we got 15 minutes left, so we got a couple more questions.
Wow.
Any more questions you think you can answer? And then as you're answering, I will have a little scroll through. Atul, lovely for you to join us tonight, Atul. I'm a beginner. Hope that's okay. Of course it's okay. We are a friendly bunch. Come and join the OM family. Always good to get stuck in. Lots of people in the comments answering the questions for us, which is always makes me laugh. There's always that, yeah, do this, do that. We have such a great OM family, and hopefully all these months and years of us sort of going out and spreading the love is what it's all about. So he says, I'm a beginner. Is there a lens that is recommended for astrophotography with the EM10 Mark IV? Okay, so that's interesting because, you know, with the EM10 Mark IV, absolutely perfectly good camera. It doesn't have quite the same autofocusing system and the same focusing system that the OM1 series has, but a great place to start if you want to do astro. So again, the 12 to 40 2.8 could be a good answer. You know, you can buy them relatively inexpensively, and there's always deals on. As I said, look for the promotions with the cashbacks and things. The 17 1.2. But again, if you're a beginner, you don't want to sort of spend lots of money. What do you recommend, David?
I think, yeah, you're right about the level of camera. There are some things on that won't be present there. So we don't have Starry AF for the EM10. We've got the long exposure control, so you could still do live time and live composite, and those are really fun. But in terms of lenses, I think we quite often forget that we've got, and recently updated, the 9 to 18 millimeter, which I
Oh,
think
yes, forgot about that.
if you were to try and if you wanted to sort of balance quality and a price point, because obviously EM10 comes into a price point as well, then the 9-18 is a nice balance. You know, you can put filters on there if you want to,
Nice and small.
it's a variable aperture lens. It's not the brightest, but if you're doing long exposures, as long as you control everything else nicely, you'll get very good results out of that combination, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Fanny? What do you recommend for this person?
Maybe also the 825.
Yeah.
Because from the size, it really fits good to the E10. Because if you use the 714, it looks right up into the sky because it's too big. And the 825, maybe it's the perfect size. I think it fits. It looks good.
Yeah. And again, what about you, PJ? What's your recommendation?
12 2.0.
12 f2. I forgot about the 12 f2.
Very small, very bright, very good quality metal lens, and time to time very good promotion on our shop.
Clutch.
So good. So good.
Well,
you know, absolutely.
Yeah. Available in black or silver as well. You know what, though? I think what's really important, because as much as we've all gone, oh, yeah, the 12, there's something that PJ brought up earlier, is we've just recommended out of the 3 lenses, other than the one that Fanny recommended, 2 of the others are not weather sealed either, and the EM10 isn't weather sealed. So you would need to be cautious shooting long nighttime things anyway, in case there is any kind of moisture in the air. But if you've got the right conditions, the 12, hell yeah.
Love the 12. 12's
beautiful,
a
isn't
great
it?
shout,
Often
PJ.
missed again, yeah.
Yeah, 4 brains. Well done, PJ. Pulled that one out of the bag. I love this. Michael Crapo says, is there a place a person can go to make requests to OM Systems to add features to their cameras? I have a couple of things I would love to see and would be able to request the additions. I mean, we're always open to suggestions. You can contact our social team, DM them. You can always add them in the comments, because we do go back through the comments and pick them up. We do have a much smaller team now, so we are much more in alignment with Tokyo and with R&D, and we're much closer to the team out there than in previous incarnations. So absolutely always worth it. As I said, wherever you place those comments, they will be noted and fed into this big spreadsheet that we have that goes over. So we always like to get suggestions. I don't want you all now running through the suggestions like, give me this. Some things are impossible, and some things it's all about priorities, right? If enough people ask for it, it may happen. That's how I see it.
I think, Claire, you could probably agree with me when we say in the 11 years that I've worked for the company, there are some things on that request list that have been there for 11 years. You know, and you just kind of have to accept that that's going to happen. But we do. I mean, even today I came back in my email inbox, 4 or 5 of those requests. Can you mention this? And we can always mention it. Always.
Yeah. And like some of it is like someone asked me, can we do focus stacking in high res? It's like, well, it's possible, but you're going to have the processor the size of a car.
Your camera's going to be this big, right?
Right.
At the moment.
Right. So there are possibilities, and it isn't theoretically not doable. It's the fact that you need it done in a swift time, because nobody wants to wait around for anything these days. And you also need the processor the size of a house. So when those two technologies, get better and better and better and better, and they work towards that, then all these things would be possible. But as I said, we are one of the biggest innovators in the camera market. You only have to look at other brands, and they are now adding these features. We've been doing it for 11, 13 years. So, hey, we'll be the first, I'm sure, she says.
A little humble brag there, you know.
Did you like that?
We're just a bit the best, you know.
We innovate the best for sure.
We do
Now,
innovate.
this is go on.
I saw a comment of Bobby, and Bobby asked for the pancake. And now, as I also love the old lenses, there was a 17 millimeters pancake. So if you want to save
the f2.8
weight,
version, wasn't it?
I think I'm not sure. I think it was 2.8. That's
the big thing.
maybe, I don't know if you mean there is also the pancake zoom, but the 17 millimeters is also a possibility. And maybe you find it somewhere on the
Yeah, I'm
second-hand
sure there'll be.
market.
Yeah, definitely. That is another great shout. Like you say, there are the lenses out there to use. But I always, when we talk about lenses, there's always so many on promotion. I'm sure there would be something to fit the bill. Now, Jason says it appears a 50 to 200 2.8 or a 50 to 250 lenses on the roadmap. Any comments? Honestly, honey, sorry, Jason, we have no idea at this present time. I'm sure at some point there will be a new lens roadmap, and I'm sure that as soon as we know, you'll know. We don't keep these secrets for long. But what is interesting is
I can't keep a secret. That's why they don't tell us.
First person to ask. Like, it's been asked for quite a bit, that lens, and would be an absolute beautiful addition. But honestly, Jason, watch this space, because as soon as we know, you'll know. Inank, apologies for the pronunciation. Can you recommend a protective daily use filter for 300mm? Well, you need to get the thinnest one you possibly can, because anything less than a really good one will suffer the sharpness. I mean, the 300 is one of the sharpest lenses we do. And if you don't buy a decent filter, you will definitely notice it. What do you think, PJ?
We have our own filter for 300mm, and I think this is the best idea. I have on my private lens, on every private lens, I have our protective filter for 40 to 150, for 12 to 100, and it's every of this filter are very good and don't cut sharpness of the lens, and I recommend our official filter for every lens.
Love that.
Of course, it's expensive, but on my private 40 to 150, I have I think 11 years old filter with after I think 100 of rallies and other sports events, and I don't use lens cap, and it's okay without any scratches. I think it's worth every money.
Yeah, I mean, I know for sure that I've seen. I remember a couple of years ago, someone said, "I've got this 300. It's really soft," and I thought, "That's really unusual." And I remember looking at it, and the filter was about that thick, and I was like, "Yeah." And as soon as you took the filter off, it was like boom, So you do need to be mindful. It's like buying a 5,000 pound camera and putting it in a 20-pound camera bag. You got to make everything a bit relevant. If you're going to buy a decent camera, buy a decent SD card, and all these things are relevant. And I know that does mean you spend more money, but why would you buy a 300mm and then put a piece of glass on it that's going to make it soft? Okay, so either go without, or and keep the filter and keep the front element clean, and use the hood, because with the hood obviously extended, it protects the front element a lot more than if you didn't have a hood. I would say the one you can spend the money on the most, right? That's sort of my feeling. Yes, that's my feeling. So yeah, let's go to the next one.
And know the lenses as well, Claire. Really important. If you're going to use a filter, know what your equipment can do with and without a filter on. Take the same image with and without it. Look at the results and then decide if the compromise is right for you. And I mean, obviously, if you're going to get a filter, get a good one, but always look at with and without to see what happens.
Yeah, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. Okay, we have a question from Marsha. Marsha says, does the 12100 Pro take the converters? It does not. We get asked that a lot. You basically have to look for the lens that's got the belly button in it. That's what I call it. That's the technical term. So the lens converter sits inside of the rear of the 40 to 150, the 100 to 400, the 150 to 400, the 300. And so, Marsha, no, it does not. You can get, not from us, but you can get teleconverters, like non-OM ones, that are standard OM mount. I know for sure firstly, don't buy plastic ones because they can move around. You need to get metal front and metal back ones so they're nice and stiff, but you can put teleconverters on. We just don't do a specific one, a specific standard 2 times or 1.4 times. But if you go to your local retailer, you will be able to get some advice for that. So hope that helps. A couple of more questions and we're going to say goodnight. That hour has flown by. Right, this is a question for you, Fanny. Which lens? No, let's forget that. Which camera can do multiple exposure? Right, let's see if your knowledge. 25 years of knowledge. Which cameras can do multiple exposure?
So every lens can do it with a camera who can do it.
Okay.
Oh,
I love
which was
that.
the
Well
first?
done. I love that. Every lens. Every
I think,
lens.
yes.
I
Every
think
lens, but
most of them can, can't they? I
Yeah.
don't think
They all
there's
can.
one. I think they all do it, don't they?
yes, and they really started early doing it, because even before they started with Olympus started with SLR. Also, the little ones are able to do it. Yes, but every lens you have, you can do it.
Good. I love that. And every camera we have also does it. Okay, we have 2 more questions to go. This is from Brandon. I love this. If I win the lottery, I already have the 150-400. What advantages will motivate me to get the 150-600? About 3.5 grand.
Yeah.
So that's what you save. You get a holiday and the lens. No. Over to you, PJ. Give us your comments on this question.
If you have 100 to 400, you should spend this money for a trip to Greenland, New Zealand, or somewhere where you can take great pictures of animals. You don't need any lens. This is find graal of wildlife lenses. Yes.
Yeah.
It's the best. It's the fastest. It's the sharpest. It's the best. If we have money for 150 to 400,
that's what you buy.
This is one way.
Yeah.
Everybody who try 150 to 400 and they have money for that lens, they have this lens. It's very short decision.
It is about a price point, because we have the 100 to 400, which is about £1,000 ish, and then we have the 150 to 400, which is about £6,500–7,000. It's quite a gap between those 2 lenses, isn't there? So to bring out something that's got that massive focal length at the £2,500 mark is basically, again, enabling you to have that option at your price point. The technology that's gone into that lens is incredible. It's super sharp, and although it is a little bit heavier, the price point reflects that. So yeah, and when you compare it to other brands, let me tell you, it's light in comparison, right? Next and final question is from Mine Engineman. I nearly read that wrong then. I use back button focus on the 90mm macro and CAF MF. You know where this is going, David. It's coming your way, baby. Half button press is deactivated. So do I keep it half pressed to use manual peaking?
Okay, so let me just dig into this question.
Yeah.
So this user's using back button focus on the 90
Yeah.
and CAF plus MF override.
Yeah.
And the half button press, which is on the front shutter release,
Yeah.
is deactivated. So do I keep it half pressed to use manual focus peaking? Well, if you keep a halfway press on the front shutter button when it's deactivated, the only thing you're going to get is image stabilization lock.
Right.
Because that's the IS lock. So if you are using the 9 or any macro or any lens that you want to be stabilized, but more importantly, the macros, then that halfway on a front button press, let me just grab a camera, on this kind of on the front here, as you halfway press, even though that halfway is deactivated, it's not focusing, it is still locking in that stabilization for the shaking. So ultimately, what you've got on there is you're doing 3 things when really only you need to do is 1, and that is use your back button focus for focusing. That's all your focusing is doing. That will also be triggering the IS, so that you really don't need to use that forefinger at all. So I would say if you're using manual focus and peaking, you're going to use it with your thumb on the back button there, and you're going to turn the focus ring on the lens. This finger here can go on holiday for a few minutes. It's not needed. You can just kind of like, although weirdly, I think we naturally place it there anyway. It's not going to do anything because the back button is doing the focusing. If it's autofocusing, that's also kicking in the IS, and then yeah, you're doing this. So Mid-Engine Man, I think, is the pronunciation of that name. Your halfway press is pretty redundant, I think, because everything's going on really back here and then on the manual focus ring.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow, guys, that hour flies by. Fanny, how was your first session? Did it go really quickly? Did you enjoy it?
Yes, a lot. Good questions, and yes, it's good to also to think at all lenses we ever had.
Yeah, I mean, and this is it, you know, like PJ pulling up the 12mm f2. I was like, how did I forget that one? David, thank you so much for joining us. You've been awesome. I hope you feel better tomorrow. PJ, back to work after a long holiday. The pair of you get plowing through those emails. I'm sure I've sent you many. We will see you this time
You have
next month
special folder.
another Ask Me Anything session. Again, if you've got any suggestions you want on Ask Me Anything, put them in the comments. We will go through them. You know, we sometimes do have to revisit some subjects because it's been a year or whatever. But if you've got anything that you think, oh, we've not done that before, we love to hear your suggestions. So let's have a quick run through. David, have you got a Tech Thursday this week or next?
So no, we've got Tech Thursday is going to be later this month. It's going to be live composite, but we're focusing on a little light painting demo because it's been about a year since we kind of covered that. So that'll be later on this month.
Perfect for the timing because our evenings are starting to get dark. PJ, you've got lots on this month. You've got lots of workshops, lots of ambassador Zooms and all sorts, haven't you?
We will have the biggest Polish event, Photography Światło Siła in Gdańsk in September, and after that we will start whole series of Zooms with our ambassadors, Lukas Brzycki, about wildlife photography in specific situation, like in forest, in
I saw that in the
near
field.
the water, in the field, only about wildlife photography, of course, in Polish, but if somebody want hear Lukas, he's also a National Geographic photographer.
I love him. He's a great guy. You're also doing one on post, which I thought, I wish I could speak Polish because I'd jump on that one. Apart from that, I'd like to say thank you all for joining us. There are lots of promotions going on. Keep your eyes out for those. We are going to be putting up a couple of events. There will be a special coffee with the Claires, which will be posted tomorrow. So please join us on September the 12th for that. Apart from that, thank you very much. And we will see you all again soon. Take care, everybody. Take care.
Okay.